Excellent. Welcome to another episode of the Provider's Playbook. We're joined with Karen from MyLife Housing. Rachel?
Yeah, I'll give her intro because I know Karen well. So she's the CEO of MyLife Housing. So as a person, I believe she's genuine, authentic. She definitely runs a purpose-aligned and ethical organisation that provides amazing housing to people with disabilities under the NDIS. And I'm super excited to welcome her to the podcast today to share all about herself and her experience thus far and a few challenges that she experiences in our sector. But welcome Karen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We always start with a bit of a game because we like to lighten the mood a little bit. So we just start with a few questions, bit of fun to lighten it up a bit. So do you want me to kick off with the questions or do you want to?
I don't have questions prepared.
I know. I'm like, who am I kidding? Like he's going to have anything prepared. Okay, so it's me. All right, so let's start with, what's your favourite movie?
Oh, God. Favorite movie? Oh, I hate those questions.
This is like the worst game for you to play.
Favorite movie?
Oh, absolutely, every day of the week, and it's Grease. It's been my favourite movie since the end of time. So you better shape up.
Can I tell you a story about Grease?
Yeah, please.
I watched Grease when I first arrived in Australia. We were living in Brazil. I was 11.
Yeah.
And I watched the entire movie without understanding one word of English. And I loved it. And then I watched it again when I had learnt English, and it sort of gave me a whole new meaning.
See? That's why I agree.
Yeah, that is one of my favourites.
Is it?
It was the first movie I watched from beginning to end in English.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
So-
At my 30th, we did this as a game actually. So we gave, I can't remember, there was some prize. I was pretty drunk.
No surprise there.
No. We gave some prize, and we had all these questions, and whoever got it right got a point. And so it was like, how well do you know Chris? And one of the questions was, what's Chris's favourite movie? And it was the only question that no one could get.
What is your favourite movie?
Well, if you had have a guess, what do you reckon it'd be?
It's got to be something gay.
Oh, maybe you might get it then. That's what everyone was saying,
I'm
like
gonna go
racing movies and
Is
stuff.
it going to be that like Top Gun or something?
Oh, no.
What about that shopping movie with the guy in it, Ryan?
Oh, no.
No? Okay, all right, tell us.
Love and Other Drugs.
Love and Other
The one
Drugs.
with Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway. He's like a medicine rep, pharmaceutical rep, and then she's got, anyway, she's got a disability and it's progressive and stuff, and then he tries to be like this super good salesman, and he actually markets Viagra and stuff, so it's got a good mix of like sales and disability and stuff. I don't know, it's really good.
Okay, all right. I'll come
And no
back
one
to-
guessed it.
No one guessed it. Everyone was like, even when I said that, people were like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it's a hard one. And it always changes.
It does.
Mine
And there's
never changes, actually.
Really?
It's been like that for years.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've loved Grease since the beginning of time too, and I think I've watched every musical. It's coming out again in Sydney, a new musical
Yes.
for Grease, I think next year, 2024, and Mum just sent it to me. She's like, oh, I'm going to get you tickets for your birthday. I was like, of course.
Oh, and I bet your kids will start watching it soon.
Absolutely.
They become of
They won't
age.
have a choice, right? All right, so when was the last time you laughed so hard your belly hurt?
Recently, actually,
Yeah?
I went to the comedy club. I took my team out, ended up just being Kim and her partner and Damo, and we laughed a lot, actually. It was, I didn't realise how much we'd laughed until the next day when my muscles in the belly hurt.
Nice.
Muscles that you never knew you had.
Yeah, exactly.
That was pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, like a core session. All right, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I think I inadvertently ate snake in Hong Kong.
What?
Yeah. It's a delicacy there.
Did it taste any good?
I didn't think much about it until someone pointed it out to me the next day that it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough.
And I'm sure we'll hear a lot
I
about your
was
story.
repulsed by it, yeah.
You have lived in amazing places, so you've probably eaten some incredible cuisine. What about you?
I don't know. I'm a like, if I don't know what it means, I'll get the chicken nuggets. So I'm not a very explorative person, so I can't think of anything. Actually, this is one where I don't have a story. What about you? You try a lot of funky stuff.
Yeah, I would say the same too. I'm pretty, like, I always go with, like, a chicken or a beef or something like that. But I did have snails, as you have to do when you're in Paris.
Yeah.
So They're disgusting. I'd never eat them again. I don't know why anybody would, but yeah, I'd say snails.
I haven't even tried oysters before.
Oh,
That's
you're not.
You are missing out.
no, the texture.
You're
like
not
I already know that I'm not interested.
Do you eat them fresh or Kilpatrick? Really?
In any shape or form, yeah, I love them.
Yeah, right. You know what they say about oysters, Karen. All right, last one. If you could have unlimited supply of anything, what would it be? Like imagine that, remember that genie that used to read
Time.
Time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Time.
Hours in the day.
Yeah, I don't have enough time.
Yep.
And
100%.
yeah, and with that time, I do a lot of yoga and reading, and yeah.
Oh, I love that answer. Yeah, nice. Your
Yep.
time too?
Hours in the day.
Yeah, right.
100%.
Here I was being simple. I was like that genie guy, with the Tim Tams.
Tim Tam.
Look, yes,
What if they tasted the same but they were calorie-less Tim
Yeah.
Tams?
Thank you.
Okay, that could compete with time.
Maybe, yeah.
An unlimited
or,
supply of calorie-less Tim
or
Tams.
just good dark chocolate.
Yes, you're a dark chocolate girl,
I am.
aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, cool. Okay. All right, shall we move on to some stuff that may interest our audience?
Yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
talk SDA, shall we? Oh, actually, no, before we get on to SDA, let's talk about Karen. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, where you've come from? I know you've got such an incredible story, so share what you will.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting fact. I think I've lived only half my life in Australia. I lived the first quarter of my life in Brazil, where I was born and raised, and then probably another quarter abroad in New Zealand and Hong Kong. So work took us over to Hong Kong. We spent the last 10 years there before we came back. And, I had the perfect, I could say I had the perfect work-life balance. I had a great job. I had kids in school. We did a lot of travelling, a lot of socialising, a lot of looking after myself. And then at the tender age of 42, I got diagnosed with a brain tumour, which literally came out of nowhere. Didn't really have any symptoms. And and that kind of felt like someone pulled the rug from under my life, and everything kind of just changed from that point. And I always look at myself as the Karen before the tumour and the Karen after, and there's lots of coping mechanisms that I've had to put into place to sort of accept the new person that I have had to become. But I think all in all, I think I obviously dodged a bullet, came out through the other side. I did surgery in Hong Kong, had to go to Boston to get treated because it was quite a rare and aggressive tumour. And, then just did a lot of thinking, maybe should we go back home? Should we be near family? What type of lifestyle do I want to lead? What do I want to do for the rest of my life? And so we decided to come home after being abroad for 12 years, and we probably chose an ideal time to come back. COVID has just started, and I felt when we arrived from Hong Kong, we were, brought the China virus with us. We'd always be asked, so exactly what day did you arrive? And, and it was, the China virus back then. And, brought 3 kids back, teenage years, really, really vulnerable sort of difficult time for them to sort of settle back in, and then they had to settle into homeschooling for a year and whatever through COVID. And then I kind of just was trying to work out what I do next. I had been a marketer for over 15 years, but whilst I thought I was fulfilled and enjoyed my career, and I did, you look back and you think compared to what I'm doing now, it was nowhere near as fulfilling. It wasn't as rewarding. I didn't feel like I was giving back in any way. It was probably trying to sell products and services to people who didn't really need the services and products I was pushing to them.
Yeah.
Things just, obviously I looked at life from a different angle, and
Look at those pimples.
Yeah,
It always does it to me.
So obviously, I came across, I actually met a developer who, NDIS came about when I was away, so I didn't even know what the scheme was about. And I didn't really have a lot of interaction with people with disability, especially in Hong Kong. You don't really see a lot of them there because it's just not an accessible place to live. And so when I came back to Sydney, I came across a developer who had started building SDA homes, SDA apartments in these, developments that he was building. And I could just see the passion and, you know, in his voice. I could hear it, I could see it. And I just thought, wow, he is really affecting change. He's really making, you know, he's changing people's lives. He's, you know, giving them a home that they're proud to live in. And so I sort of looked into it, and cut a long story short, MyLife Housing was born. So, yeah.
Wow. How's that for a story?
No, it is. It's quite a journey to get there, and I think it's interesting too, because I'm sure that everyone hears of developers coming in trying to build as many SDA houses as possible. So it's really interesting and refreshing as well to hear that, you know, your first introduction was seeing a developer being someone that wants to make change, right? Not build houses and make money.
Yes.
So that's powerful for sure.
Yes, yeah, it was. I think it was quite a. Now that I have been doing what we've been doing for 3 years, I think he's one of a kind.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a lot of other developers out there that, you know, well, we try and align ourselves with developers that share our values and want to do the work that we do, but it's really hard to find. Yeah,
that's one thing I have noticed working alongside, you know, MyLife Housing is they are very ethical. So I know from our interactions that, you know, whoever you are aligning yourself with, you know, has to have the same values, which I think is a really nice thing to still have in our sector.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, MyLife Housing.
Yeah.
Who is MyLife Housing? What do they do? Who do they serve?
So we've kind of gone down sort of, you know, medium to large size developments, and we're doing this salt and pepper approach where we take on, say, 15, 20 apartments, SDA apartments within a building. And we really just want, you know, from the outset, and I've always been drawn to good design and always been sort of super house proud and want to love where I live. And when we started to look at this, we thought there's no reason why disability accommodation can't be beautiful. It can't be aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't need to scream disability. And really, I don't think you should notice that it is a disability home. I think it should just look like any other. So when we align ourselves with developers, we make sure that they understand that these apartments should look like every other apartment and just have maybe wider doors, have, you know, adjustable kitchen benches, but they should not look any different. You know, if you're using beautiful timber on the kitchen cabinets, let's use it through the NDIS apartments. Let's not, let's make these homes beautiful so that people feel proud to call it home.
Yeah, I think that's a big one with me. So my background obviously is marketing, but my roles in the sector when I've worked for before we did all this was sort of around when the rollout happened with the NDIS was person-centered delivery and training and stuff there. So at the time, it was so taboo to wear uniforms because everyone had, from a person-centered standpoint, you don't want that branding. Like it should be. But then we moved into the NDIS world where as a business, you don't just have one client being the government and then 100 participants you service. It was now moving into the NDIS rollout, people need to market their business. So uniforms aren't there from a way that's not person-centered. They're there from a marketing perspective. So I think it's really interesting to hear that as well, because I'm of the same thing. Like I don't like the idea, the person-centered part of me doesn't like the idea of branding on cars and vans. Like same thing with housing, right? Like it should be part of the community. Like why should it be segregated? It certainly shouldn't. And then why does it need to be branded like some big thing? So I think that's so important that all of that housing is just normal housing, because we're
mainstream,
normal people, right?
Who happen to have a disability.
100%.
So I do try and reflect that in our branding. I don't really like to dwell on the disability or have people sort of in, you know, wheelchairs in all of our imagery. I just want to showcase these beautiful homes, and it just that
they just happen to be fit for purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. And like you said, unless you would live in it, and let's be honest, we like the finer things in life, so we've got a high standard. So unless I would live in it, you know, the participants want to repeat that. Unless I would live in it, then they're not living in it, right?
Yeah.
Is that
No,
right?
I mean, we are
Did I say
building,
that right?
we're building things that we want to live in ourselves.
Perfect. Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
you
when
said
you
it much
hear,
better than me.
when
Thank
you
you.
hear,
That's the marketer in you.
you know, but when you see OTs come through or allied health professionals or anyone, they, you know, the first thing they say is, wow, I would love to live here. And you want that reaction because it's, you know, it's affirmation that you are designing something for everyone.
Yeah, I love where this sector's going.
Yeah.
In that aspect.
I think the new guard is that's coming in with the stuff that we're doing. Like, I just see the disability sector in 10 to 15 years once we get rid of all the cowboys. Like, I just think that we are going to be world leading, provided we keep pushing the right people forward with all of these ideas and attitudes. It's, you know, it's cool to be a part of.
It is so cool. It is so cool. Chris, are you going to ask a question today, or is it just going to be all me?
I can't get a word in. Okay, cool. So I think something that I think a lot of our listeners actually will want to know is if they're core support providers or SIL providers and stuff. Obviously, you're an SDA provider. What is it that you're looking for in those other stakeholders that you guys do work with on a daily basis, I guess? I know we just sort of touched on it then with, you know, like the developers that you work with. So what is it that you look for in those other stakeholders that would, you know, connect with you and work with you?
Well, okay, so we've, you know, a huge stakeholder base are the developers, obviously, and we've aligned ourselves with some really key ones that have actually allowed us to do the work that we do. They allow us to sit with architects from the very beginning and have input into, right, how should this apartment work? How should the doors swing? How should the outdoor areas
the
look?
door swings.
Yeah. You know, practical input that we, you know, from mistakes that we've made in the past and things that we want to try and input into new projects, so we're bettering and learning each time. And so having a seat at the table right from the beginning has been really, really valuable. The other side of it, obviously, is the people that support the participants. And so you've got your support coordinators and your allied health professionals. And I think what we're looking for is to align ourselves with support coordinators, especially who understand the SDA.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, like I said to you, it's probably about 6% of the NDIS participants that actually are eligible. So it's not a huge area of focus for the NDIS. And so we do get a lot of support.
And it's very complex.
It's really complex.
Yeah.
It keeps changing. It's really hard to stay abreast of the, you know, the price changes or whatever it is.
Categories, the requirements, the housing plan, all of the things that come along with it.
That's right.
How
and
you
so
apply.
I do feel a bit when I get approached by a support coordinator who doesn't know much about it, and they almost want to learn at the expense of a participant who really only has one shot at getting the right outcome, you know, putting in the right reports, aligning yourself with OTs, people who understand how to write these reports. And I sometimes, you know, I try and sort of work with support coordinators who know what they're doing and who are also willing to fight for the participants, so willing to call out when the funding is not appropriate, or when they can see clearly that they've been, you know, given the wrong plan and go in and fight the battle. And if it means taking it to the tribunal, then they, you know, people that could actually do that and fight for the participants. Because, you know, when we sit there and see the plans that come out and the outcomes, a lot of it defies logic. You're looking at certain participants thinking, how on earth have you not got any more funding for your disability, and how have you got so much funding? I don't think you can justify it.
Yeah, that frustrates me too, to the nth degree, when you've got the same person, let's say on paper, in terms of their needs, supports or disability, and they can have polar opposite, you know, funding from the NDIS. That's super frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
That's where good support coordinators come in, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. But also there needs to be some ownership on the agency for, you know, why is there so much discrepancies in...
We're picking big fights today.
Sorry. Bleep all that out. I said nothing. No, but I do mean
Enemy
that.
number one tomorrow, Jesus.
Well, you know, they hold us accountable, so it needs to go back the same way too, you know. So yeah. Call it a shot fired. All right, so we were talking about support coordinators. So what would be your biggest advice for somebody just starting out on their SDA journey, haven't applied yet? What do they need to do? What are your top 3 tips?
Yeah. I'd say for participants it would be to make sure you align yourself with, again, support coordinators, OTs who actually understand SDA and who are willing to take you through that journey, and to also be really patient. These things take a long time. And also to be sort of open-minded. I mean, we get a lot of participants that come in thinking that they're going to get a certain level of funding. They come and see the apartments, they fall in love with it, and, the funding may not go their way. And I kind of, it's really heartbreaking to see, that they get they come along on this journey and they realise that they're not funded for it. So, yeah, be patient and look at all the options available to you with the level of funding you have. And for coordinators, I would say if I do sense that someone is just out of their depth, I do encourage them to actually, lean on someone who does have the experience. And even if it means that you pull in a specialist support coordinator just for that funding bit of the puzzle, and once that outcome is achieved, that support coordinator can step out and leave you still to be the support coordinator for your participant. I think there's enough there for everybody to chip in and help out.
Understand. Love that. I love that first tip too the most. Oh, God, now I'm talking to my phone.
Excellent. So I think something that I experienced with one of our clients, they were doing an SDA modification, a house they bought, and they were modifying it to make it fit for purpose. And then the minimum spend changed, and so they'd spent all this money on this house, and then all of a sudden it wasn't viable. So I think that constantly changing compliance landscape can be tricky for people that are involved in SDA. I guess, what are your biggest challenges with compliance in the space, given that it's changing and everything? How are you staying
Great
on top
question.
of it? What advice do you have with that?
Yeah, I mean, it feels, and I'm new to the sector, obviously, but I mean, in the 3 years that I've been doing it, I feel like it's, as soon as you've got your head around something, it changes again, and you kind of got to dig for the information. So recently, the NDIS changed the SDA price guides, and so it doesn't come to you on a platter on the NDIS site. You've got to look for it. You've got to wait for it to be published and interpret it.
Yeah.
Get some. Now they've got all these GST calculations, so you've got to understand if the builder's claim for GST or not. So it's really, you need an accountant to go to go through it. So there is a lot of getting your head around it. For us, SDA, given again that is such a small sector, we've really struggled with getting a platform or a software to enable us to do the work more more seamlessly. We're having to do a lot of things manually. It's a huge admin workload. As you know, Rach, most of this CRM or the NDIS software is geared towards SIL providers.
Yeah, it's kind of like you need a halfway between, like, I think it's REST, like that real estate CRM and an NDIS CRM. Like there's
That's
no
right.
sort of plug between that, because you manage so much to do with the housing, maintenance requests, I'm sure, like tenancy, all that kind of housing stuff, but then you have to incorporate the NDIS.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those CRMs are starting to come out, though. We just need to find the right one. Like even Astolte with support coordination, shout out to those guys because they're really cool. But a lot of different CRMs that are more fit for purpose rather than Shift Care.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, you know someone who's doing an SDA CRM system, please chuck it in the comments or let us know so that we can share that information with
MyLife Housing.
MyLife Housing.
Yeah, and all of the SDA.
And if you're a developer, or what are those web designers, what are they called? App developers?
Yeah. You can develop the app, but you need the software first and then do the app.
Software
but it's
the idea is there.
You're right. I mean, half of what we do, if not more, is the sort of the property management side of things. Is making sure that we get to participants' maintenance requests quite quickly, and then managing that across all of our buildings and all of our participants can be kind of a logistical sort of challenge. And so we want to try and avoid having 2 or 3 different softwares. So we're doing things manually until we find the right system. But I suspect when we do find the system, we're going to have to customise it to make it work for us. But, I mean, it's, the compliance challenge of having to make sure that, every maintenance request, every complaint, every incident is tracked as well. It's there's a lot of registers that we're filling out every day. And, also because we're not...
Your auditor will be happy.
We're SDA providers. We're not doing what Rachel's team do. We're not in the apartments themselves. So if someone has had a fall, for example, we're expected to know what's happened in that incident, document it, whilst we're not really in their day-to-day. We're kind of more, making sure that the bricks and mortar in their home is serving its purpose. So
Totally. So while you talk about challenges, what has been your biggest challenge to date as an SDA provider?
Building a team, finding people who obviously share the passion and who understand SDA, or even just, the original requirement is must have SDA experience. Now it's must have NDIS experience, and now it's must be able to learn because it's just you're broadening your net. Building a team. Obviously, we're a startup. I'm blessed to have the team that we've got at the moment. I think we've got some amazing talent in there, and just growing that team because as you get more and more participants, and I don't want the business to grow and not have the team to support it because you can quickly undo all the good work that we've done.
That's the biggest challenge that we find is when people start working with us and they start to grow, is a foundation that can keep up with that growth. Is that you can probably give us some tips on this one, Rachel. You're the expert at being able to grow a foundation that can sustain that level of growth.
Yeah, come along to the Bali retreat. I'll tell you all about it. No, I just did a presentation over in Bali on hiring a winning team, keeping them, making sure that they're value aligned, staff recognition, loyalty, retention, all that kind of stuff. So it's probably too much for this podcast, and I'm sure our listeners want more SDA information, but
we kind of almost started our journey together. You started Alara when I started MyLife Housing, and I remember your first hire. Yeah. And you obviously remember my first hire.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was, we were taking these steps. Obviously, Rachel was running much faster than I was. For every 5 people she hired, I hired half. But yeah, it's been nice watching, us grow together.
Totally.
And our businesses just, blossom.
Yeah.
So super proud of that.
And so on that, so obviously we collaborate, Alara being a SIL provider and MyLife being SDA. So we do some collaboration from SIL and SDA. So what is the importance of having, a good SIL provider to collaborate with, or a support provider that might be, working with your participants? So what do you
I have to say I didn't quite understand how important it was to align ourselves or collaborate with a SIL provider that, shared or aligned with our values and someone who we could really, enjoy working with but also trust. I think we were really lucky to have stumbled upon you, Rachel. Yeah. I think we really enjoy working with Alara. We can do amazing things with these apartments. We can put all the bells and whistles, do all of the assistive tech, but if the support on site is not great, if they don't have the right attitude, if they're not supporting the participants, like you would expect to be, for someone to support your son or daughter, they can leave. I mean, we tend to find when people leave their SDA to come to us, it's because of the support, not necessarily because of the apartment. So I tend to find that you can probably attract someone with the bricks and mortar, but you keep them with that great support.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And Alara are definitely fulfilling on that. I think it's, we bring them in and, we hope that they will be well looked after. We hope that there'll be enough social activities and a cohesiveness within the participants to make them feel like they found the right place. And, most of the participants, we had an audit done recently, and one of the auditors went and visited a few of the participants with us, and I just sat there and just watched them rave about the building, about the support, and it kind of, when someone else is selling your product or service, it was just a huge proud moment for me.
So fulfilling, hey?
Very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Question I might wrap us with is something that you spoke on about those social activities and I guess the community and stuff. How important are the community that you create within these sites? And then sort of how do you work with Rachel or any of the other civil providers to make sure that they are creative and innovative ways to build community within the participants in your site?
Okay, first of all, we make sure that we build the spaces so we can sort of have these sort of get-togethers. And so, like, if you look at Navali, you've got, a doggy playground, you've got a private dining and kitchen that you can book out and use for events, you've got barbecue areas, you've got ping pong. So there's a lot of spaces so that you can, so making it very conducive to getting together. And I know that Alara have done quite a few events at the different buildings, and we will tag along, or we'll do a Christmas event together, or Easter, an Easter egg hunt or
guilty
whatever.
For being party animals.
It's
Don't hold it against us.
It's
Easter egg hunts aren't that wild of a party. Maybe you're getting old, Rachel.
Excuse me, it might be appropriate for some. You went at our New Year's Eve party on the rooftop overlooking the beach in Wollongong. So
we've got a pretty
I wasn't
special
invited.
site.
Yeah.
No,
we don't want it
for
to
the next
escalate
one.
that much, Chris.
Wow.
We want shirts left on.
But I also think it's important to note that whilst our participants sort of, I tend to find they're all very friendly and eager to engage. A lot of them don't necessarily, not all of them want to sort of belong to this cohort, because they think, well, I've got a job, I've got a life outside of this. I don't think just because I'm in a wheelchair and this person's in a wheelchair that I'm going to want to hang out over a barbecue. And so I think it's just understanding who is seeking those things out and who is happy to just live in this building and carry on living their life and not necessarily wanting to interact or engage. And I think it's, we've got very different sort of types of participants looking for very different social things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah, I guess.
It's gonna. Why am I even asking? Of course I can. It's my podcast too. I just want to know what's the next move for my life? What's the next 12 months look like?
Okay, we've got some huge projects coming up. Some that I can mention, some that I can't. But we're definitely trying to plug the demand for housing that's not provided at the moment. So I think once the NDIS were luring sort of developers to build high physical support, we know that there's an oversupply. So we're doing a lot of improved livability apartments, which I find that there's just not enough of, especially in Illawarra. So we've working with the developers that we've currently working with and some new ones to build out more apartments in Wollongong, in Marylands, in Burwood, in Parramatta. So some really great locations, all sort of smack bang in the middle of the CBDs or, the hubs of the suburbs. So and some really cool sort of innovative design. So really excited, and growing our team and just keeping enjoying doing what we're doing.
Oh, I can't wait. Next time we might invite husband Damien on for like a version 2.0. I said to Damo, Damo, do you want to come on the podcast? And he says, no, gosh, I get too carried away. You think I'm boisterous. Yes. You wait till you see Damo.
He'll take all 3 microphones.
So we might do a 2.0 to see the other half of the Abdallah household. But thanks so much for coming on, Karen.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed
you've got your top tips. We've got the elevator pitch we missed.
Okay.
What are you doing?
You just told me to wrap up.
Yeah, and then you started asking other questions. You asked me to keep you on track with time.
I think I've done my elevator pitch, right?
You've done
building.
No, you don't get out of it. And you were a marketer too, so you should nail it.
We used to call it single-minded proposition. Did you? Is that what you used to call it? Single-minded proposition. So what's the one takeout you want people to get from your product or?
Well, let's hear Chris's first. He loves telling everybody his elevator pitch.
I don't. You just ask me all the time. We've helped hundreds of providers deliver millions of support hours.
Yeah.
That's it.
Beautiful.
It's more of a tagline than an elevator pitch. Like, I don't even really need to.
Yeah.
It tells you what you need to know.
It's like everybody knows me. I don't need it anymore.
So MyLife Housing provides beautiful homes for people with a disability.
Hey.
Easy.
Don't ask for mine. Mine always ends up like this.
You've said yours. I've heard yours.
Yeah, no, you're both marketers. So
Before you put your golden nuggets, your takeaways from this, I've got one. The oversupply of like robust and HPS. So,
definitely not robust.
Not robust.
Yeah.
No.
HPS.
Yeah,
sorry.
definitely.
If you're seeing ads on Facebook from developers that are saying there's a shortage of HPS, invest in this SDA stuff, do your research, know what you're getting into. If you don't know this space, don't be investing in, because people go, oh, there's 20,000 people waiting for. Go to an expert if you're going to do this. Don't go to a real estate agent trying to sell you the investment dream, because there is an oversupply of a lot of things and people push it like it's unfailable.
Yep. So do your due diligence.
That's my takeaway for sure.
DD.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And you know what? There might be some pockets in Sydney that have an undersupply, but generally it's well catered for.
Yep.
So build what we need, robust, IL.
Well, I wasn't really taking notes along the way, so I hope you were listening and you've got something to add to this, but you want my top 3?
Yeah.
Okay, my top 3 tips. Find a good support coordinator.
Yes.
For everyone.
Yes, everybody, but particularly if you're going down the SDA journey, they need to have the understanding of those extra elements that someone navigating the SDA space will need. You need to understand the design categories. You need to understand what a, one resident, single occupancy apartment is and the location factors. You need to understand that you need a housing plan and all the other, robust data that the NDIS are going to ask for before you even support that person to embark on that journey and set them up for failure.
Correct.
Right? That leads me on to support coordinators. If you're a support coordinator out there, learn more about SDA. If you don't know, don't do a disservice to that participant by supporting them on that journey. Get some help. If you need some help, we might add the support agency's link in the comments. Can we do that? Yeah, we'll add that because they're actually running a course on how to do support coordination, because they understand that nobody else is teaching people how to do it, right? How to write a good SDA housing plan, that kind of thing. So I'll put that link in the bottom in case that adds some value. Understand your compliance as an SDA provider is my third, and my fourth I started with build and then so just got ... So
excellent.
I'm going to assume what I meant to say there was like always, and I think this comes out of all of our golden nuggets, is find good people to support your business and the participants that we support, because with good people you can,
that's right.
You can have,
you can change the world.
Find good humans, as you said the other day.
Should have been a marketer.
Yeah. Should have been a marketer.
What a wasted talent being a podcast host.
What about you? Is that it?
No, my big takeaway was the one about there is a lot of different categories for anyone that doesn't have a background in this sector and doesn't know, especially for people, because there is so many SDA investment opportunities going on. That's the one that I'm seeing hurt people outside the sector. So that's my takeaway, that I do because a lot of people come to me that I know that might have, some cash hidden under the pillows, or, they're whatever. They're in different industries. They're not, and they say, oh, should I get in and invest in these SDA stuff? And it's just like, no, man, like, I don't have the bandwidth to know who to do it with. And I can tell you that all of the ones that you see on Facebook are not really.
And if it's too good to be true, then
it is.
Then it's
exactly
these yields that people are spruiking.
And if you want to invest your money, particularly in SDA, do it for the right reason.
They call it ethical investing or something. Investing where you can, make a return and make a difference.
Absolutely.
That's right.
But don't believe what are they selling in terms of the ROIs?
23% yields and stuff a year.
Yeah, and it's just it's not. It may have been when it first started about 4 years ago. It's definitely not.
But I also think that the people that are spruiking these things as like that are almost being scammy with it, what they're doing is they're saying like, it's guaranteed, the government pays it, but they don't understand the government gives the money to a participant who then goes to an SDA provider who then also involves a SIL provider, and a lot of SIL providers out there and stuff. We know with the sector, there's, potentially 80% of our sector that could fold. There's a lot of shitty operators out there. So you're not
You're
you're,
really
you're,
firing shots today.
no, but the money goes
You're
to
right.
about 15 hands. It's not backed by the government at all. And
Yeah.
these investors don't know that. And it only takes one of those people to fold, and all of a sudden it's a big house of cards. So you're guaranteed 23% is not guaranteed at all.
And you've actually
Yeah.
got a devalued asset now because it's, you know.
And people assume if you build a HPS, you're going to get that dollar amount that it's enrolled for. And chances are you're not. You know,
Yep.
not many people are walking around with $130,000 for SDA. Just because you've built it doesn't mean they come.
Totally.
You end
Isn't
up
that what
having...
happens?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a provider, you end up taking people on a lot less, which we have done,
Totally.
and sort of giving them a house to live in until they, you know, go and get more funding or go through, you know, AAT. So, yeah.
Excellent. Cool. All right.
This time we're actually
We'll
wrapping up.
actually wrap it up now. It's been great to have you.
has
If anyone wants to get in touch, obviously we'll put your details down in the link below.
Yeah.
It's been great having you on. Thanks
Thank
for all
you,
the
Chris.
advice you've shared.
Thank you. Thanks, Rach.
Cheers.